order. Cody County Council, 6 o'clock, July 18th, 2017. We'll start with a public comment session. 4 minutes per person. We have one person signed up, Miss Amy Hart Gant. Come in.
I didn't know I was going first. I thought we would say the Pledge of Allegiance first. So my name is Amy Hart Gant. I'm a builder with Tiger Heart Construction. I'm also a realtor with First Choice Realty. And a year and a half ago, I purchased Willow Creek Subdivision, which is off of Critter Road. It's approximately 40 acres and 41 lots from Community First Bank. And at that time, I'd been under contract for about a year and a half to 2 years trying to decide the status of the roads. So we kind of went back and forth. I came up to a couple of meetings with some other people and with Community First and didn't really get anywhere. Gave what paperwork I had at the time to Mr. Mulder at that time. It's come to my attention that some things might have changed in our favor, and I would like to publicly make the comment that, first of all, we've sold our first spec house. We closed on Wednesday. We have another one out of the ground. I sold a lot this week. We're going to be building another house. The neighborhood has just been cleaned up and cleared up. It looks great. It is adjacent to your brand new Tri-County Tech, so it's in a really, really hot location. Phase 2 was approved. I've got transportation minutes. I just don't have a magnifying glass to see the actual date. So Phase 2 was actually approved by minutes. I don't know how Phase 2 could have been approved without Phase 1 having access. And if you need access, I grant you full deed access to it. So that's the issue. The majority, or at least half of the 7 houses built, there are now 9, are in Phase 1. The subdivision is deeded as Willow Creek, but on the tax map, when you go to the parcel list, it still states Poplar Ridge. I found that out today, so I don't know if that'll come up in our closing or not on Wednesday. But I'm here to ask for grandfather clauses to get this. I think it started in 2006, and Mr. Knight and Laverne Backman had it until approximately 2009, 2010, I think, is when there was some bank troubles, and I purchased it a year and a half ago. So we started building in October, and like I said, now that we've cleaned it up, it's just a beautiful piece of property up there. It's very quiet, one way in, one way out, and you can tell where Mr. Knight and Laverne Backman were going to have the original road. It's cleared out kind of like a power line, and the county came in and inspected and said, no, we're going to have to make a turn. So they did, and they made all the provisions for the creek. So we know there was county involvement back then. So if I will gather what you asked me to gather to seek approval for those roads. There's a couple of residents of Willow Creek here as well that came to support this public comment. So that's all I have to say, unless you have a question for me.
Mr. Mulder, I know there's been some discussion on Willow Creek in times past on what it would take to bring those up to a county records. Is that something that you'd like to set up a meeting with them, or have y'all had meetings?
I've not met
Ms. Gant.
Gant.
Thank you. It's probably Ms. Hartman. I did that with you.
Yep.
Ms. Gant and I have not met. I met with the bank, Community First Bank, with Ms. Elisa Suddeth a number of years ago when we were discussing this particular development. So no, I have not met with Ms. Gant that I recall. I did meet with previous developer, the bank, and I think that's been it. Back then it was determined that the roads don't meet the county specifications of the ordinance at that time or today. There are a number of issues. We had offered to assist with the cost of bringing the roads up to the county standards in order to be accepted into the county system. We actually agreed to pay a third of those costs, as well as maybe have the road department do some of the work to mitigate some of the cost to relocate the road. The bank at the time, who owned it when we had those discussions, wasn't willing to put forth the money to, I guess, modify the roads to bring them up to county standards, and it kind of died from there. But there was, at that time, it was decided by the council then that we could not accept those roads if they did not meet the county standards, and one of which was public road access. So what Ms. Gant was referring to was there is minutes, and we have records of those, where the council voted to accept and approve acceptance of the Phase 2 roads into the county road system. The deed was never transferred I don't know if the bank troubles at that time, stopped it on their end, but there was no deed transfer. But the confusing thing is, as Ms. Gant referred to, is Phase 1, which is the main entrance road that comes in, there was never any discussion about accepting those. Well, in order for a county road to be accepted into the system, it has to have public road access. Well, Phase 1 is a private road, so it would not qualify as public road access. And that's what she was referring to about, I'll give you the deeded access to Phase 1 so that you can have that public road access. The problem is Phase 1's road, the main entrance road, doesn't meet county standards either. So it would be very difficult for us to accept those. But I'll be glad to meet with Ms. Gant, go back and look at all the paperwork and discuss it and summarize it and go over it again with her. So you can contact me or Ms. Amanda Brock, my assistant, we can set up a time.
Okay.
I'd be glad to sit down and talk with her.
Okay. And I do know there was an issue about whether the West Union Fire Department could come through the cul-de-sacs. And from what I understand, they came and they did drive through because there was a question of the cul-de-sac width. But since there's already houses there, that was a big issue how we would do that. But they came in and they turned the big trucks around. I don't have that in writing, but I would be glad to commandeer that or get them out there again. So,
Okay.
okay,
Yep, thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments on that? Ms. Gant's the only one that signed up to speak. If anybody else would like to speak at this time, any written comments, hand that to the clerk of council. All right. We'll close public comment session. We'll move on to a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Root?
Yes, sir. I'd like to. Father, thank you for this day that you've created. Thank you for our bodies that you've given us to live and to move and to do things. So we pray in this wonderful county that we live in, this wonderful country we live in, that we not take for granted what you've given us. Love and wisdom, that could really just be your needs. Whatever, give us guidance, staff to help, counsel to make wise decisions.
Mr. King?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two sets of meetings to approve. The June 13th, 2017 special meeting. Is there any amendments or changes that need to be made on that?
Move that it be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The June 20th, 2017 regular meeting, any amendments or changes on that?
Move that they be approved as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Mulder, Administrator Report and Agenda Summary.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start our meeting this evening with 3 public hearings, first of which 2017-09. This would amend Chapter 32 of the Code of Ordinances, specifically in regards to our sign control elements. And the intent of this ordinance amendment would be to modify the language so that we can properly define a billboard and how it can be approved as an off-premise sign. There's been some confusion with the wording in the ordinance regarding on-site signs actually qualifying as billboard in accordance with the definition. So it's a cleanup process, if you will, to clarify the definition of a true billboard sign, in addition to setting the size limits of particular on-site signs. Second public hearing is for 2017-14. This would actually authorize the contract for design, construction, and operation of the Workforce Development Center. This is actually the official document that will allow me to approve the conveyance of the land at the Coney Industry and Technology Park for the Workforce Development Center, which will be the location of the new Tri-County Tech College and School District Career Center. We had the groundbreaking on that, as everybody's aware, last week, and grading is wrapping up completion. Hopefully we'll be finished here soon, and they'll start construction, I believe, August 1st on the new Tri-County Tech campus on that site. So this ordinance would actually allow the contract of conveyance of the property to the school district, who's actually going to manage the construction process for both Tri-County and the school district. It also allows for a lease to be signed between the school district and Tri-County Tech for the operation and management of the property and facilities. Ordinance 2017-16, public hearing. This ordinance will allow the execution and delivery of a real property lease agreement between the county and Fair Oak Youth Center. Specifically, this would allow the Fair Oak Youth Center to operate and maintain the former Oakway Intermediate School. There's been a number of discussions about the relationship. Happy to say that we've come to a conclusion. Everybody's in agreement of responsibilities, and this particular ordinance would allow me to sign that lease agreement and make it official, so the Fair Oak Youth Center can properly maintain and manage and operate out of that facility. After the public hearings, you have subsequently following those the third and final readings of each of those ordinances. Second readings, you have none this evening, but you do have two first readings, the first of which is 2017-18. This particular ordinance will be in title only. This will approve the incentive items for Project Maxwell. Project Maxwell is an existing company that's going to be expanding here in the county. This is an expected investment of $70 million plus. The actual fee and load tax agreement will be written to a minimum of $60 million investment during that allotted time period. But this particular ordinance will approve those fee and load tax agreements in addition to the special source revenue credits and establishing it as a multi-county industrial park. 2017-19, this is the ordinance that will actually create the multi-county industrial park for Project Maxwell. Project Exodus. And this was with Pickens County, right, Mr. Root?
Exodus,
Yeah,
yes.
Exodus. Sorry, I thought there was one we were doing with Anderson County, but this one is Pickens County for Project Exodus. To establish that particular project here in the county, will also distribute the fees in accordance with the fee and load tax agreement for yet another project to locate here. First and final readings for following resolutions. Resolution 2017-11. This would allow the construction of a speculative building in the Golden Corner Commerce Park, and specifically authorize us to proceed with the Santee Cooper Economic Development Loan Program in order to secure the funds to build the spec building. I know there's been some positive direction and discussion from council, but we wanted to have a formal resolution approved and signed and in place to present to Santee Cooper along with the application, so that they know we actually have the legislative body's authority to apply for the loan. It's kind of a determining factor. So this resolution would actually allow the construction, authorize it, as well as submit the loan application to Santee Cooper, which has already been done, but this would just be validation and clarification that the legislative body has approved it. Discussion regarding action items. You have a number of those, first of which is the removal and recycling of scrap tires as part of our recycling program. Let me first point out, this is the first time council has actually approved this particular expense. It is a normal, ongoing annual expense in our operational budget to pay recyclers to remove those tires. The reason why this is the first time is because us and every other county in the state has seen a more than doubling of the cost for removal of those tires. So when you look at the totaling, the doubling of that cost, it actually pushes the price above the $50,000 limit, which requires council's approval in order to proceed. Now, let me also point out that this particular expense is more of a pass-through, because DHEC will reimburse us, even at the higher price, the full cost of these tire removals as part of their tire fee program. So this is not a direct cost to the citizens of the county. It's actually going to be paid back from DHEC, but since it is still an expense to the county and it's above $50,000, it does require council approval. 40 of the 46 counties in this state have had to go back and modify their grants with DHEC because of this increased cost that we're all seeing in the tire removal program. So that's why we're bringing it to you for the first time, is because it does push it up over 50,000. But again, I'll state, this is reimbursable through our DHEC grant at 100%. Your backup material had shown that there was going to be a negative $10,000 balance, that we were actually going to lose $10,000. DHEC has come back, modified the grant, and assured us that they will cover that cost at full, so we won't see any negative balance there. The second action item is the Village Creek Substation approval in the amount of $142,670.32. We're recommending that this contract be awarded to J. Davis Construction of Westminster, South Carolina. It is a two-part approval process. Number one, it'll approve the amount for J. Davis, which includes the contingency, but also authorize me to approve any change orders so long as it stays within that approved contingency amount of $12,970.03. All required documentation has been sent to DHEC. The notice has been sent to them. The site preparations have already been planned. Mr. Scott Carroll, our county engineer, has already designed and submitted those site plans to DHEC for stormwater approval, stormwater control approval. This will actually allow the construction of the facility. There is one point that I need to bring up. Originally, we had discussed with a neighboring property owner the use of an existing well to be able to tie into that system. The neighboring property owner has denied us that request. So we are going back and going to have to put a well in at this particular location. I will point out, if you look at the balance of the budget, there's $47,330 roughly remaining in the budget for that. So there's more than enough money to pay for the well. We're estimating a typical well anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, obviously depending on the depth. So we'll actually have a well driller come out and put a well in that location for a restroom and a sink for a bathroom. So this will actually approve the construction of that facility. The next item is approval of design materials prepared for the County Workforce Development Center. As part of our contract with Tri-County Technical College and the school district, it required the county council to actually approve of the design elements and the actual design of the facility and the appearance. So that's what this process will do, is follow through with that provision in the contract. Mr. Root has forwarded to you, I guess, an over 90-page document that will actually identify all the design elements to that building. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review it. So this particular approval is approving of those documents. One thing he and I discussed was to authorize the administrator to approve of any changes to that after the fact on site, so long as there's not any extreme deviations from the original design elements. If they want to move a wall or change the floor plan layout or something that's not going to modify the actual appearance and overall design, to go ahead and allow that approval to take place at administrator level instead of bringing it back to council. But if they want to go in and put metal on the outside instead of the brick and rock like they've actually indicated, to me that would be an extreme deviation from the design plan. I would of course bring that back to you. So in your motion or approval, if you want to stipulate, and obviously we can help you with the wording on that for approval of any changes. Board and commission appointments. Building Codes Appeal Board, 1 at-large seat. Conservation Bank Board, District 2, has a position available. No unfinished business, no new business. We do have 2 council committee reports and an executive session. We still need the executive session tonight. This is to discuss the RCI services contract. This is the contract with RCI for the Community Development Office. The contract would allow for the RCI to handle plan review, commercial inspections, as well as on an on-call as-needed basis for residential inspections depending on our workload. If you recall, through the modifications to that office, we are trying to survive with just 3 inspectors rather than 4, so we can eliminate 1 position. Having 3 inspectors instead of 4, there are busy weeks where there may be times we cannot handle the full inspection load, so RCI would be on an on-call basis to manage those residential inspections for those particular weeks. And that's basically the way the contract will be written. The actual approval of that action item is following executive session to give council time to discuss that contract before an approval is actually made, so that will follow the executive session. Mr. Chairman, that's your agenda for this evening. I am more than happy to take any questions you have now, or we can wait until those particular business items come up for discussion. I turn it back over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this time? Yes. Good. All right, we'll move along to public hearing. The first one that we will open up is ordinance 2017, ordinance amending Chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in certain limited regards, in particular pertaining to sign control only and other matters related thereto. There is no one signed up to speak. If anybody would like to speak, now is your time. Any written requests need to be sent over to clerk to council. We'll move to close ordinance 2017-09. Ordinance 2017-14, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a contract for the design, construction, and operation of the Oconee County Workforce Development Center, and further authorizing the transfer of the land upon which Oconee County Workforce Development Center will be located and other matters related thereto. We have no one signed up for the public hearing for that. If you'd like to speak on ordinance 2017-14, now is your time. Any written statements can be brought over to the clerk to council at this time. We'll move to close ordinance 2017-14. Ordinance 2017-16, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of real property lease agreement between Oconee County as lessor and the Fair Oak Youth Center Incorporated as lessee and other matters related thereto. There is no one signed up to speak on the public hearing sheet for ordinance 2017-16. If you'd like to speak, now's the time. If you'd like to present any written statements, you can do so to the clerk to council. Move to close ordinance 2017-16. Third readings of the following ordinances. Ordinance 2017-09 for sign control. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2017-14, land transfer on the Tri-County Tech and Workforce Development Center. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
bring up my concerns. Tri-County Tech, I don't care darn who feathers I ruffle. I'm out there in the field, I'm in the industry. Bunch of industries. They're not meeting the needs of the industry. They're supposed to be training people for the industry that's here. In Charleston County, Charleston Tech, Tri-County Tech down there, when Avco was building jet engines during the Vietnam era, they had the big program out for getting people up to speed for working for Avco. Later on, when General Dynamics was building those big spheres for the LNG industry, had a big building built, getting up to speed on building those LNG spheres for General Dynamics, Bushy Park. Then when GE opened up in Charleston and Ladson to build the outer shell for the turbine, they built this big, huge building called the GE building down there. Put all these machines in there trying to get people up to speed. To this day, now in Charleston County, they have a big program going for A&P for Boeing and avionic electronics. Up here, I go to meetings in different industry, and they said, well, they're not meeting the needs of what's going on. Tri-County's known about Baxter for a long time. They're not training molding operators. They're not training mold people to start into mold making or even the basics of mold making. Mold making is a whole nother other ball game. It's not anything like machine work. And so we got, if you want industry to come here, you have to tailor. Industry's coming, then you have to tailor the industry, the curriculum, if what's coming in. Now, what's going to happen here is what we in the industry call rating. Rating is when I got a business and I need help. So I start asking questions. I say, well, what's going on over here? Who's the top people in this business? So I woo them over to my business. That's workforce development, or what do you call it, workplace rating. It's done all the time. It's perfectly legal. There's nothing, you try to butter your side up to get those people. We're still facing a shortage. And I've talked to Tri-County about this. I said, yeah, this is serious, you know, and my words fall on deaf ears. And yet out in the field, when I go into these offices for problem solving, they say, what do you do? We can't use these people. These people are not trained. It's not the people's fault for not being trained. It's the trainers. And it's just been, this is festering and festering and festering, and now it's becoming more and more evident. As more businesses move into this county, we have to meet the industry's, what the industry wants. If they want whatever their business, they expect to hire people that can come to work for them. Not people that they're gonna, well, I look at you and I can't use you and I can't use you and I can't use you. It's not the applicant's fault. It's the trainer's fault for not meeting the demands of industry. That's all.
Anything else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ordinance 2017-16, lease between the county and the Fair Oak Youth Center. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So we have no second readings tonight. First reading for the following ordinance. Ordinance 2017-18, title only, authorization of the execution and delivery of the second amended and restated fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Oconee County and the entity known for the time being as Project Maxwell, whereby Oconee County will enter into a second amended and restated fee in lieu of tax arrangement with Project Maxwell and providing for payment by Project Maxwell of certain fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for the allocation of fee in lieu of taxes payable under the agreement for the establishment of multi-county industrial business park and other matters relating thereto. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
First reading on ordinance 20-19, an ordinance to develop a jointly owned and operated industrial business park in conjunction with Pickens County. Such industrial business park to be at the time of its initial development located in Pickens County and to include certain property now and to be owned by a company known to the county at this time as Project Exodus or its assignee and establishment to South Carolina Code of Laws 1976 as amended. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Madam, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I clarify one thing on that one? We'll forget
Please.
that they voted. I think I was a little confusing in my description of that. I'd like an opportunity, if I could, to kind of clarify. This Project Exodus is not one of our projects. It's actually one of Pickens. So this project is not going to be located in the county, and I want to make sure that's understood. Multi-county industrial parks require, obviously, multi-counties to approve. Just like when we approved multi-county parks for our industry, Pickens County has to approve an ordinance to agree to that particular project. We're actually reciprocating that favor, and we're doing it for them on this one. We rarely do them for them. They either work with Anderson or, obviously we have more announcements than they do throughout the years. But this is not one of our companies. This is one of Pickens' companies, and we're just reciprocating the multi-county park favor. We will receive 1% of the revenue generated from that particular industry, just like when we turn around and we send 1% of our revenue from our multi-county parks to them as required by state law. There's up to a certain amount that we're required to send to them by state law to qualify as a multi-county park. So I just wanted to
Understand.
clarify that so that everybody understood this is not one of our projects. It's one of Pickens.
Any other questions on that? Okay. Motion to approve ordinance 2017-19.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, first and final reading, following resolutions, Resolution 2017-11, resolution authorizing the construction of a spec building in the Golden Corner Commerce Park and the use of the Santee Cooper Economic Development Loan Program for such purposes and other matters related thereto. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and discussion action items. First one we have is the removal and recycling of scrap tires in the amount of $75,000. We had some discussion through that. Do need a motion to approve that, or,
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I'd like to say,
Yes, sir.
Scott, what happens to the tires after they pick them up?
They take them to a recycling center where they process them for multiple purposes. You know, some may end up in Jackson, South Carolina, as part of that recycling yard down there. We don't know for sure, but they are tire recycling companies and send them to tire processing. I mean, I don't know if we know specifically, do we?
U.S. Tire,
Can you, yeah, you gotta at least get the here. Sit right here.
U.S. Tire, and their remanufacturing of the tires, they do several processes. They make, just like the the rubber mulch that you see on playgrounds. They also use the tires to put back in like shingles, different processes. They have several different things that they have that they send them to. U.S. Tire, Liberty Tire, they are the same company. They own their headquarters out of Concord, North Carolina, and they ship to several. Ours is going to Ridge Recyclers down in Johnson, South Carolina, right out of Edgefield. And then they process a portion of the tires, and then they cull through them, and then they ship the tires to other parts of their in their company to process them to make other products.
Thank you. Swain, I'd like to congratulate your entire staff at your convenience centers. All of them, the guys are really on the ball. They're trying to separate, keep the cardboard out of the household garbage. They're doing an excellent job, and you need to be commended and your staff.
Thank you, sir.
Just to follow up on that, I sent some numbers to you earlier today. We've had actually over a 50% increase in our recycling tonnage in 2 years as a result of a lot of the programs that Swain and his staff are putting in place and the work of the convenience center employees. Just from last year, we saw over 17% increase in our recycling tonnage, but over a 2-year span, over 50% increase in our recycling tonnage. It's amazing. So,
That's nothing
thank
but
you.
good.
It's
Nothing
good.
but good.
We have a motion and a second. And any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. The second one we have is the Village Creek Substation. The amount is $142,670.32. And in that, it includes a 10% contingency of $12,970.03. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the award of $142,670.32 and authorize the administrator to sign the documents and to approve change orders within the contingency amount.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I have a couple questions. I thought we had sort of slid this back to the back burner.
So there was some discussion about trying to reduce the cost of it as much as possible, which we've tried to do, which is why we've got a remaining balance of over $47,000. The discussion was to continue forward, but try to reduce the size. So the building's actually been reduced in size There still is the restroom and the, included in there, but the size of the building's actually not gonna be built to the same standard as some of the other substations. But at this point, we were still moving forward with it.
How many more do we need besides this one?
Bounty Land will be the last one. And let me clarify that a little bit. As part of the original fire improvement plan that was approved by council back in 2010, included a substation plan of 8 total substations to be constructed in the county. Those locations were identified and approved as part of that plan. Village Creek is the 7th one on that 8-station list, and Bounty Land is the 8th. So after this one, the Bounty Land, which was already approved as part of the bond document from last year, I believe, the monies are set aside for that one to be constructed as well. So this one and Bounty Land, the last two. But I clarify that, disclaim it with the fact that there were 2 other pockets of areas that have seen significant growth over the last number of years. One is in the Kiwi Ebenezer area, and then one is down in the South Union area, where we've seen a number of rooftops going up that fall outside of the 5-mile range that we did not have when we approved the plan back then. There's been some informal discussions about trying to save money on these last few construction to try and build a downsized version in those particular areas, but no official approval has been given to go forward with those. But I just wanted to throw that as information. So to answer your question specifically, Village Creek is number 7, and the Bounty Land will be the last one, number 8, that's been officially approved.
Okay. Mr. Chair,
Please.
how big is that bad boy?
2 bays. I can't give you the exact square footage, but it's a 2-bay station, not 3 like the other substations. It'll be very similar to what we have at Choi Valley, except it'll have a restroom built into the corner of it, like a closet. There will be no stubbed out living quarters or anything like that. It's just 2 bays and that's it.
That would be, that's a lot of money per square foot for a garage.
It's a lot of
For a
money.
bathroom. And that's the best we could do.
The only bidder.
Wow. Okay.
Mr. McCall, what's been the discussion, and I guess that's in your district, on that through Mountain Rest? I just haven't heard a lot about it. I was just wondering if there's been a lot of discussion to you about the need and everything on that.
They tried to they had some free land and that got turned down. But that turned into a big fight, didn't it? Over the
No,
free-
sir. This Village Creek property is free land that was donated by the Brown
Okay.
family. And just very similar to the Whetstone, that was also donated by the Brown family.
Okay.
I think what you're referring to was when we tried to do a property conveyance of the property, there was some concern by the fire department
that's what
about
it
turning
was.
it over.
Right.
And we actually negotiated that out and worked with the attorneys and came up with a better scenario in which we're actually leasing the land for long-term instead of actually conveying it to the county. So we've resolved that issue. We've got leases between us and the fire department for that particular station use and construction. And it's 30, 40 years, something like that. It's a very long term, but
So
that's
you-
been resolved.
So we, just for a point, when we put it out on bid, we solicit, usually 5 bidders, 3 bidders?
We have a design build call list. We actually send it out to all the design builders who've signed up and asked to be notified of the properties. There's 4 of them on the list, so we send it out to all of them, and only J. Davis Construction has actually submitted a bid.
Well, no sense crying about the price then. Nobody bid on it. That's it. What can you say?
How many rooftops, do you know?
I don't have the number with me. I didn't bring that file.
Less than 200?
I want to say it was around 300, if my memory serves me correctly.
So less than 500, for
Yes,
sure.
it's less than 500.
You know, discussion?
Where are the bids located
Hang on.
for bidding on? Where do you find them?
Typically, we put them on our website, we put them in the newspaper, we put them on Skibo. There's a number of different places we put bids. It all depends on the actual bid itself. And then we have a call list, an on-call list, where we actually take the bid documents and proactively send them to the companies that have asked to be notified of those opportunities. So there's a number of different locations. A lot of it just depends on the bid itself and the type of work to be done. We won't advertise a piece of equipment in the same place that we would for a building construction, because not the same kind of companies do that work, so it just depends.
But it could be found online for the building construction
That's correct. We have a particular webpage where we actually post those things. And you can actually call into the procurement office if you have a specific kind of work that you do that you are interested in. We have a call list where they review, and if we're doing a particular project and your company does that kind of work and you've asked to be put on the list, we actually will send you a notification directly. You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next discussion item is the approval and design materials prepared for the Oconee Workforce Development Center Phase 1, Tri-County Technical College Academic Building at Oconee Industrial and Technology Park. And you wanted to add something to that, Mr. Mulder? Or Mr. Root?
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think just making it one motion as opposed to kind of tacking on something would be the easiest way to do it. If we could have the motion, put it up for discussion, to authorize the county administrator to approve the design materials so long as they're in substantial conformity with the materials I submitted to you all, which were the ones dated June 30th, 2017, prepared by McMillan, Paston, and Smith. That gives him the ability at this front stage to approve them consistent with what y'all received, and if there are any changes that are not big, like you talked about, more substantial, he could approve those. So we just have that one motion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
First day, okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Board and commission appointments, building codes and appeal board. Have we had any new submissions? Okay. We'll move on. Conservation Bank Board, District 2. Still fishing?
Fish today, there's nothing out there.
All right. All right. Unfinished business, any? Any new business? Okay. Move on to council committee reports. Mr. McCall, Law Enforcement, Public Safety, Health and Welfare, please.
Okay. We had shall we say, a packed audience, one person, which is Ms. Kamick. That was it. Mr. Root brought up I know the county's already doing it. We got mobile homes that they move around. Mobile homes move around. Okay. So we got no way of, we're losing a bunch of tax money on this. And the idea is if you pay your taxes on the mobile home, you get the sticker to put in the window or wherever it is on the mobile home to show that you have paid the taxes on it. And I was really surprised when Mr. Root told me how much money the county is losing on untaxed mobile homes. It was just, it's something I never thought about. And he wanted to bring it to the full council. Do you need a motion or not?
No, we didn't. I think that was one, because it's just an administrative matter. We wanted to bring it to your committee to see what y'all thought about it, and the administrator can roll it out
Yeah,
from there. So we're good to go.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, the decals would change color every year, and we're not gonna go out there and have a person, actually witch hunting or trying to pry into people's property. When they do a reassessment or they find something, or or building inspector goes out there for an unrelated item and finds it, well, then you could be tapped in for that. But we're not gonna go on an out and out witch hunt wasting time looking at every mobile home. That's a waste of taxpayers' money. But it is a problem in the county, and other counties have already doing it. We're not breaking new ground here. Other counties have already got the stickers and giving them out. Okay, then, we would generate about $180,000 in unpaid we pick up that much more money, probably, possibly even more. There's a lot more that maybe we don't know about, that move in, move out. Then we had a big discussion, well, it wasn't really a discussion, it was more or less my tirade on boating safety. It wasn't a discussion. And here it is, once again in Hartwell, right now, no life jacket, wasn't wearing the lanyard, out of the boat in the water, one dead. It's tragic, absolutely tragic, could be prevented, but it's not. Can't pass an ordinance, you know, it's just a shame. We took no action during that. Then we called it lake access to Fall Creek, which is and Mr. Moeller scolded me, where are we gonna get the money? He's right. But we need to, and as I said during the meeting, Mr. Hart agreed with me, the richest tourists in the world did not vote for me, Mr. Hart, or anybody else up here. The local people voted for us and put us in office. Tourists can't put us in office, local people do. We work for the local people that put us in office. So therefore, we owe the local people more lake access to their surroundings. That's what they put us here for. So we're trying to work with how to do this, how to pull this off. And it's just something that we owe everybody. You know, it's not a private lake. It's open. The land under the lake belongs to the Corps of Engineers, and the water belongs to the people of South Carolina. That's the way the Constitution is written. Now, that doesn't give you the right to go tromping up in somebody's yard when you come out of the water. You can't do that. We could have a sheriff's substation there. Duke Power, when Bill Lee was vice president of Duke Power, the road was put in, just gated off right now. It's a really good site. The problem is money. How can we do this? Maybe we could start this on a shoestring and just build on it. We could have a sheriff's substation up there, which would really help law enforcement if they had a place to be rather than having to run up and down the roads. You know, you can't expect a deputy just to have an office in a car. That's being unreasonable for the deputy. It has 22 plus acres minus. It's a big hit for people to go up there. It has a lot of beach area that's already been used, and you could go around on certain parts of it. There's a lot more beach area. So we ain't got, the beaches are normal, just had, cut a little path down to the beach, and here it is, go swimming. It's really a good thing to do for the citizens that we represent in the county. Then the discussion regarding the maintenance at Mosquito Point Boat Dock, and that was we got a boat dock, and because of certain restrictions and stuff I won't go into, it's the sheriff. I mean, the fire department did go down, mow the grass, clean it up, and did a fine job on that. But I expressed the concerns is we got a $70,000 boat down there, and it's just too good for vandalism, and I worry about that Chief King's going to come down there with his crew, going to fight a fire, and they stole the battery, they stole something off the boat, they did some damage to it, and I'm trying to work with Mr. Moeller and Mr. Root about and get some signage put up. It's going to be a negotiation. There are obstacles to overcome. But in this Fall Creek could be another point to put a boat for firefighting. Because when a house catches fire, you don't have time to be putting a boat in the water. By that time, it's done too late then. And with all fires, the primary thing is to save lives. The house is Mr. Davis has often said that a house, once it catches fire, it's almost a total loss anyway for the smoke and the water. And, we took no, action on that. Our next meeting will be October 10th, unless, of course, we can get some other stuff up and running. That's it.
Okay. All right, Transportation Committee, Mr. Hart.
July the 7th, 2017, approximately 5:30 PM, I call the Transportation Committee to order. The main topic was Shatterwood Road, Phase 1, and the developers, Mr. David Land, Les Walton, Tim Hydrick, were here to represent their project. Mr. Mulder gave the story of what happened with the county. Also, Mr. Mike Cox with Thrift Brothers, he's the foreman that did the grading. He relayed what diaries he had taken while this job was being built. We discussed how the ball was dropped. We don't know if it was the county or if it was the developer. The committee recommended that Shatterwood Phase 1 be conditionally accepted and referred to the full council to be approved. And the next meeting for the Transportation Committee will be October the 10th, 2017, 5:30. And that's it. That's my report.
Any comments? All right. Need a motion to move into executive session to receive legal advice regarding the contract with RCI Services to provide plan review and inspection services on an as-needed basis.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
reconvene?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No action was taken during executive session. Do I hear a motion on the discussion action items to approve the RCI plan review and commercial inspection on an as-needed basis?
So moved.
Second reluctantly.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to make the
Yes,
motion
please.
clear, it's to authorize the administrator to execute it, correct?
That was my motion, Ms. Root. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard him say it, did he?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.